Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion. As you can tell from the title up there, I'm continuing my trek through the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond, one episode and one season at a time. Time is here. We are now in the home stretch. Episode 1 of Season 9. The last season. And more, like I said, last episode, all these episodes are gonna be ones that I watched for the first time when I got the DVD, because I don't know what it is, but season 8 and 9 I got later than the other ones. I think it was just that there's a little stretch of time where I wasn't collecting them as much. Maybe it had to do with the release pattern, but there was just some reason I didn't get them. I actually didn't get these sets until I was in college in the early 2010s. I got them and I was making my way through this season and I'm like, don't remember this, don't remember this. In fact, I don't even remember watching the finale in syndication, so it tells you I kind of trailed off when it came to season 9. I knew of it because I remember in Reader's Digest and some other publications at the time them going over. In fact, this was going to be the final season, that they had negotiated it to be a shorter season. Now, I know in one of the articles I read at the time that they said part of it was for Peter Boyle to have a little vacation thing with his family. Now, I would not be surprised, considering he passed away the next year, and I've mentioned this before, this is just me hypothesizing, that part of the reason is because of his health, and he wanted to spend as much time as he could with his family after that. If that is the actual case, I have to say good on the producers for that, for knowing that they shouldn't stretch it out longer than need be. And if it's just a coincidence, then it's kind of a dark coincidence. Now, like I mentioned at the end of the last episode of season 8, this one kind of decides to go and subvert our expectations, or in the words of a certain wrestling booker, we're gonna swerve them, bro. This, of course, is the home. Now, the episode opens with both younger Barone couples, Ray and Deborah, Robert and Amy, chilling in the living room at Ray and Deborah's house. It could be just any random day, and walk Frank and Marie. Like I said, it could be any random day. And right from the get-go, you can tell there's something different. We don't know what it is at first, and they kind of drag it out as the scene goes, and slowly as the conversation goes, you can tell the characters are starting to catch on, like, oh, this is not a normal day. And the first hint we get is how Frank and Marie are acting. They are not quite their usual selves. And I love the way that Doris Roberts and Peter Boyle play this, because it makes it pretty evident, but it also could tell that they're getting a little emotional about it, but they're really holding it within when it comes to it. That is, they went to go visit their friends that live in New Jersey at a retirement community, and they really had an excellent time. And it was such a great time to the point that they are considering moving to New Jersey. And they're trying to break the news to the family as delicately as they can. Now, of course, us knowing these characters for going on 9 years now at this point, we all know what their reaction is going to be. They're going to have two reactions. They're going to have the public reaction, and then they're going to have the private reaction. The public reaction is like, Ma, Dad, you guys sure you guys want to do this? You guys sure this is what you guys want to go do? And of course, once they step off to the side of the kitchen, which, the way all 4 actors play that when they go to the side, each having their little private thing, it really adds to the comedy in this episode. Watching it, like, oh yeah, I forgot how fun this scene was. Now, of course, sitcom suspension of disbelief, we have to imagine that the two in the other room do not hear any of it. Because in real life, sitting in the room, you'd probably hear it if they're making noise like that, unless they were just did it like this and made no noise. But the way they're doing it here, sitcom suspension of disbelief. Now, when they got there, Frank and Marie had already made up their mind that they're going to do this. They've already signed a lease and all that. Now, big elephant in the room is, okay, if they're going to move over there, sign a lease and all that, what are they going to do with the house? So they offer to sell it to Robert and Amy. And they offer to sell it for the same price they bought it for, which was a couple seasons before where they actually finished paying it off, and they paid $26,000. Which, that is definitely a price tag for a house back in the late 50s, early 60s when they would have bought the house, give or take, because I don't think they ever put a actual stop date on the year that they officially bought the house. But given the time frame that Ray and Robert would have been born in, when those two would have gotten married and all that, that'd be around there. That seems about right. I don't have like the figures in front of me because I didn't want to do the research into the economics that much, but that sounds about right for that time period from what little I know about economics and all that. And also from what little I know about economics, that would have been a steal for a house in the early 2000s, especially at this point where we're in, if I remember what year this came out in, this would have been, what, 04, 05-ish when the season came out. So we're almost at the end of the first Bush presidency, and we're about to go into the years that will lead into the long recession, and then, of course, the whole housing market crash. But even before the crash, $26,000 for a house would have been a steal. And the reason I know this, especially for an area like New York, is that my uncle mentioned, we just randomly ran time in a conversation about how much his house when he used to live in Phoenix before he went through his divorce and all that was worth at different times. And at one point he was in the millions. The low millions was still there for Phoenix. Now think about it, that's Phoenix. In an area like out where I live in Southern California and in New York out on Long Island, around in the mid-2000s, more or less, the house is going to be worth a lot more than that. But of course, that's if they actually wanted to go that way, get it appraised and all that, and then go off and live off the nest egg. They, of course, are thinking more of their family, and they decide to sell it just for what they get out of it, even though they could have charged a little bit more to compensate for the fact they did make that one improvement on the house. Well, it's only an improvement when you look at it a certain way, and that is turning one of the bedrooms into a bathroom. So it takes it down to a 2-bedroom house, but it is still a nice little improvement because you got that little man cave room with the hot tub. Well, Robert and Amy, of course, accept, and they're going to buy the house. Everything looks like it's going to go well, but of course, a little monkey wrench has to be thrown in there because, you know, it is a 3-act structure. We got to have a little bit of drama in there for humor. And that is, everything looks like it's going good. Robert and Amy have the house. Frank and Marie about to leave. And then all of a sudden, Deborah is getting a little heartstring tug. And part of it is because of her relationship with Marie. And she feels like, oh, I don't want things to end like this. And of course, everyone else is like, no, crazy, don't do it. You're going to ruin it. And of course, she waffle stomps over them and actually goes and talks with Marie and goes with it. But Marie, being Marie, there's multiple ways, of course, she can go with this. But she goes the predictable route and just waffle stomps over everything Deborah has to say. And is like, I'm happy with how things are. Which, could you really expect anything else from Marie? I mean, at this point in their relationship, would you expect anything else? And Deborah seems to have expected something different, and when she sees that, she just decides to, like, you know what? After all these years, you're still going to be like this? Okay. Have fun. Frank briefly looks like he's getting a little emotional, but it's just Frank being Frank. And, of course, Frank and Marie leave. They're now in New Jersey, and now the dynamics have shifted a little bit. And this early in the season, we are left to wonder, okay, if the season is going to start like this, in a plot we would usually think would be the ender of the show, because if you're going to do a plot like this, logic would denote you would do this as the series finale, where they finally move to a retirement community. Robert and Amy now have a house where they can start building a family, even more so if you actually make it a plot point that Amy is pregnant. And then, like that. That would have been an interesting way to end the show, but of course that might have been the predictable way to end the show. So instead of that, as I said at the top, subverting the expectations and deciding to start the season with that, because now it's like, Okay, you got the parents out of the house across the street. Now got the brother and his new wife there. How is the rest of this season going to go? Now, of course, as I've mentioned before, sitcom writing. Because this little shakeup is not going to last long. As we'll see in the next episode, we're going to be hitting the status quo reset button. But I'll say this, because of the fact they had to do that in this, at least with the status quo reset button, has a story reason, but it's not a full status quo reset, as we'll find out in the next episode. And of course, with that, it of course brings this little tidbit of knowledge back to the Brones, and that is, sometimes it is too good to be true. And that, of course, will be next time, everybody. Till then.